Welcome back to Morning Footy. FA Cup semi-final action this weekend. Here's how it went down. Manchester City get the 1-0 win over Chelsea, and then Manchester United by the skin of their teeth. This one had to go to penalties. They take down Coventry City, setting up a Manchester derby in the final. Wild times, everybody. For more on the weekend in England, we are delighted to welcome in our good friend, Geoff Shreeves. Hello, Geoff. How are we today?
I'm good, Susanna. I'm trying to avoid talking about arguments, rows and disagreements in football where it's seemingly impossible, especially with, I suspect, what you want to talk about today. It just seems to be everywhere. We've had some fantastic football over the weekend in the FA Cup and the Premier League, but the controversy rages on.
Rages on. Indeed, we're gonna chat about all of it. Let's start with those FA Cup semifinal matches, though. What did you make of the performances from both Manchester teams? Because I would say it was less than convincing, Geoff.
Yes, I could understand you saying that, but I think one was more convincing than the other. Look at Manchester City. They got the job done. They had a huge game in midweek against Real Madrid. That would have taken a lot out of them physically and mentally. I know they were at home, but it went to extra time and penalties. And they were leggy. They were tired, but they managed to get the job done. So they got through. And if you like, we saw them go up a gear in the second half. They showed why they are champions. They dug in. They were gritty. Listen, you can't not talk about it. Unfortunately, Chelsea just did not take their chances. Manchester City, I think even the most ardent Manchester City fan would admit they were there for the taking in the first half. And Chelsea didn't take advantage, did they? They had the opportunities, and the old adage goes, if you don't put the ball in the back of the net, then you ain't going to win any games of football anytime soon. But Manchester City, they rode it out, and they showed, as I say, that's why they're champions. But it could have been very different with a different set of forwards, if you like, for Chelsea. Imagine all those chances had gone Manchester City's way. Would have been a very different story. Pep Guardiola, afterwards, as you probably saw, not at all happy with the scheduling. Thought it was completely unfair. But to be honest with you, he put out as strong a team as possible. So he showed he wants to win the FA Cup in a week when the FA Cup had been badly kicked around and tarnished with regards to the replays being cancelled from the next season onwards. It needed, if you like, people to shout the care and the love for the FA Cup. They got that. They got that. No question about that. But Mauricio Pochettino will be sat there today wondering why and how this one got away. And just one last thought. I understand what Pep's saying, to be at Wembley on the Saturday, having played Wednesday night. But he was suggesting because Chelsea and he was suggesting that the game should have been switched to Sunday. But because Manchester United and Coventry City didn't play in the week, but Chelsea have a league game on Tuesday, so they couldn't play Sunday, Tuesday. So, as you know, you can't please everyone.
Geoff, imagine spending $1 billion and your players are still not good enough. I do want to ask a question about the Grealish handball. What do you make of it?
To be honest with you, I don't know what handball is in anymore, Alexis. I honestly don't know. And why the referee wasn't sent to the monitor to have a look at it. His hand goes towards the ball. Jack Grealish brings his hand down. I understand his hand being up because he's looking for leverage as he jumps. Well, I'm not sure what that says. But for me, it's handball. But I'm not sure anybody knows anymore, do they?
Every time I look at it, it's more a handball.
Same.
I'm shocked that didn't go to the monitor. I'm shocked.
It's like, what reasoning is there behind? Like, I can't even fathom a reason to justify the referee's decision because the silhouette is pretty ample.
What do you think? Is it closing it in?
Is it the referee's decision? Is it the decision of the referee you're questioning here? Because the VAR only intervenes if it is not a clear and obvious error. So VAR is saying that is not a clear and obvious error. That is not, obviously, handball.
How is that? How in the world?
It's frustrating
You're
to
in
see.
the wall. Your arm is away from your body, and it's outstretched. You're blocking the ball. You're making your body unnaturally bigger because you're in the wall. And he did it.
And the ball hitting your hand is changing the trajectory.
And I've had enough of referees and refereeing bodies saying that it has to be clear and obvious. When VAR scrutinizes the little dirt on the edge of the toe of an offside, and maybe if you had stepped a little bit, like clear, not like I don't buy any of this. You know, and I get it, but offside is black and white, and interpretable things like a handball is
Subjective.
It's subjective, right?
It's subjective.
It's open for.
It's subjective.
But I'm not. But what? But how is something subjective clear and obvious? Like I'm sick of this all. I can't, because VAR is in here scrutinizing the most minuscule of details, things that nobody else in the world sees. No one sees it except for the Steven Spielberg cameras that are ultra 4K HD, and to the naked eye nobody sees.
But Nico,
but it needs to be clear and obvious.
I'm sorry. Those are the laws of the game.
I get it.
Now,
I don't like the laws. I don't like the way that it's been implemented. There are clear and obvious fallacies.
Nico's that guy who's like, I'm not paying the parking ticket because I wanted to park here.
Guys, you're conflating two things here, because that was a subjective call with VAR and the offside lines, and you're talking about, and clearly you're accusing Hadji Wright of having dirty toenails. I'll let him take that up with you. But yeah, that is a factual thing, like goal line technology. So those two things are different. Now, I agree with you. There is even debate about the line, where the line is drawn. Did it go over Wan-Bissaka's foot? Did it bury his toes? That's a separate thing, but that isn't subjective. They've drawn the lines in the same way that Liverpool's goal was allowed to stand, Jota's goal on Sunday, because the lines overlapped. So if you like, that is very much a factual, physical thing that can be drawn, can be seen. That's different. When it's subjective, we're never, ever going to all agree. But I am totally with you. I think that's handball. Right. For two officials to look at that and say, no, not handball and not worth reviewing, to not even question it, to not even say, go and have a look at the monitor, I think it's wrong.
It takes responsibility. What VAR is doing, it's taking responsibility off of the people who are supposed to make the big calls. The referees aren't reffing the games anymore, and that's become the dynamic of refereeing in a football.
The counter argument is the reason that the VAR is not intervening as much because they do not want to be seen as re-refereeing the games. So it's trying to interfere less.
In the situations when it's convenient to say that, but when there's an egregious handball, to probably the majority of people who see that, when it's such a subjective call. And this has inherently been my problem since the beginning with VAR, Geoff. And this is obviously a thing with how rules are written and how protocols are in place, which to me I see fallacies in. Because the guy on the field, the guy or the woman on the field who's supposed to make this decision, isn't making the decision. They're leaving it up to somebody without them seeing exactly what happened in the game that they are refereeing. And then that opens a door to a bunch of power dynamics.
I bet you didn't know you were talking to a Chelsea fan.
Let's get to a less controversial match.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a less controversial club and situation in Nottingham Forest.
Whoa.
What do you make of Nottingham Forest's social account here on X?
This is Nottingham Forest Fan TV, is it not?
No. This is Mark Clattenburg's official X post.
What do you make of this, Geoff?
I think it's wrong. I think it is really, really poor to question the officials' integrity. But, and I'm not defending Nottingham Forest for 1 second, they're within the PGMOL, when the referees in this country, they have to declare an interest as referees. This is well known. This is not news. They have to declare an interest if they support a team, if they have family members, say, have season tickets at a club, if they have an association with a team. Because let's be honest, everybody in football supports a team. Referees are football fans as well. So that's only right. So they do keep these things in check. I remember Michael Oliver did an interview a few years ago. He's openly declared he's a Newcastle United fan. And if there is a game where perhaps, I don't know, if Newcastle were battling relegation or if they were heading to, whatever the circumstances, he would not be put on that game for that reason. The same applies to VAR. So if Stuart Atwell is a Luton Town fan, then that would apply because this would clearly affect them on Sunday. However, I just don't think it's right for them to call him out publicly. And you can look at the decisions as well, and you can draw your own conclusions as to whether or not he got it right or wrong. But for Nottingham Forest to come out and say that is the reason behind it, to associate the two, is really, as I say, I think it's wrong. I think it's in poor taste, and if anything, it has diluted the point that they're trying to make. Now they claim, you can see they're frustrated. Whatever they say, whatever they do, it's not helping them. It's not helping their cause. They clearly think that there is some sort of agenda against them, which I personally don't believe for 1 second. Yes, I agree they've had some rough calls against them, but I certainly don't go for any conspiracy theories. But going about it in this way, I'm sorry, it's just wrong, wrong, wrong. And now there's even a row breaking out as to whether Nottingham Forest did speak to the PGMOL on the Friday and raise the point. So I'm not entirely sure we have heard the last of this one.
This happens in Turkey, by the way, these types of things.
A lot of things happen in Turkey.
It's dangerous for this to happen in the Prem.
I agree.
Jeff, how far do you go? How say at the weekend with Coventry City, they felt aggrieved because of the VAR call. Do they start researching who did the VAR? Is he a Manchester United fan? How personal do you want to make this?
What if he
was? That's what I think it is, this is what makes it wrong for me. It just opens up all sorts of avenues of accusations and makes it personal, which I just don't think is right.
Yeah, you're messing with the integrity of the body of the group of people that is supposed to impart
They're desperate,
impartial judgment.
Desperate to stay in the Prem, right? Mm-hmm. And they, in their mind, are going to do whatever it takes to distract the situation, to
muddy the
claw
waters.
points back.
The Prem has a certain standard. That's South American.
It's poor
with all due
taste.
respect. Coming from me.
Equally, given what I just said about how the referees, they send out the referees and they make sure there isn't a conflict because they've declared this interest, do you think it was appropriate? And I'm not for 1 second am I supporting what Nottingham Forest did on Sunday. The manner they did it, I totally condemn it. But if they wouldn't have put that referee on that game, should a referee be on the VAR? This is not Stuart Atwell I'm talking about. Because the other thing, the problem with that is it's nigh impossible. So many games are interconnected, and whoever supports whatever team, there could be a connected party or could have an influence on the team they supposedly support. I just do not buy for 1 second that any of our officials would be biased in any shape or form based on who they may or may not have an association with or support. I just don't buy it.
You could lodge a complaint internally, can you not? Without making, bells and whistles publicly in front of everybody to undermine
Did they delete that tweet,
no,
by
it's
the way?
still
It's
up.
still
It's
there.
still up to undermine the credibility of a body of referees that are supposed to be those who upkeep the laws of the game. Like with all due respect, I think I watch my fair share of South American football, and always South America esteems towards the highest standard of football, which I think globally we hold the Prem there. This is low. Even for South America, this is low.
And do it privately as well. If you believe this, and I don't support their argument, do it privately. Don't do it publicly.
I do think on one call, it was egregious that they didn't get a pen.
But that happens. That's
exactly.
refereeing. You mess up.
Just
It's
like
part of the
Pochettino
game.
could have been like, that was a hit. But he didn't do that. He didn't go, oh, let me see who the VAR is. They hate Chelsea.
Yeah, well, we could have this conversation all damn day. It is a slippery slope, though, indeed. Geoff, thank you so much for your fantastic insight, as always. Great to catch up with you. We'll see you on Friday, I'm sure.